It's been an entire year, my lovelies, my hearties, my soul squad. Welcome back to listening to the voices in our heads where creative minds get together and talk about, well, their creative processes. I am Jenna O'Malley. I'm your soul writer, author of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references. And today I'm sitting down with an authortube veteran, in my opinion. She's been around the authortube and writing community spaces on YouTube long before since I knew her. She has been writing for a very long time. She's also not just a novelist, she's a poet, she's a co-author, she's into tarot, and she's just a fellow lover of all the things nerdy. And of course, you often see her hanging out with her sister, but let's today focus on the one, the only, the amazing Nicole the Blind Mage. Hello there, my dear. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey Jenna, thanks for having me. So my name's Nicole, and I have a YouTube channel called The Blind Mage, where I do videos about tarot, magic, my own poetry, and song covers. As Jenna mentioned, I also write poetry. My poetry genre is usually dark and fantasy, and I recently published a book called Shadows Abyss, a collection of poetry. And as she mentioned, I also am a co-writer with Lauren, my sister. In that genre, I write novels of fantasy, dark fantasy, and paranormal. And and right now we are working on rewriting Immortal's Kiss, which is book 1 in the 100 series. I am also working on 2 new poetry collections. One is called Fractured Heart, which is a book of sorrow, and Disenchanted, which is a book of characters' point of views for Disney and Pixar.
I like that second one. I can't wait to hear about that one. But I thought I had the original copy of Hunted that I bought here. I have your sister's book of poetry, and of course, this one's yours.
Yep, that's Shadowbus.
As a Marylander, I love this cover. Did that have any influence?
Yeah, so I am a fan of Edgar Allan Poe. So when we were seeing book covers, Lauren suggested The Raven. And actually, all my poetry books are going to have this theme where it has a dedication to Poe with the pictures. So for Fractured Heart, it's going to be a cuttered glass of a heart fracture, kind of like the Telltale Heart.
I was wondering if that was the Telltale Heart reference. I loved it. So definitely make sure in the description box on the YouTube end and most likely on the Substack end, you'll be able to go ahead and get links to the Shadows Abyss. I love your poetry. It resonates so hardcore with me. And that's some of what we're going to talk about today. So do you read as well as write, or do you have like a secret hidden guilty pleasure that's none of the genres you tend to write?
I actually forgot to mention my poetations. So as well as being a self-published author, I also have poetations and Maryland's Best Immersion Poet 2016-2017, Green Punt Press charity anthology named Fadywell and Roads and Rebels, and Enchanting Tales anthology as well.
I was going to say, Enchanting Tales is also something I believe I've been a part of. That's an epic anthology. I think there should be a link somewhere for that, too. We both have that's actually my first poem published under my pen name, Jenna O'Malley. So thank you to the team that put that anthology together. Hint, she's kind of related to the person who did a little bit. It was her sister who we'll be meeting with next month, Lauren, that kind of organized getting me put into that anthology with you all. So
and hopefully Enchanting Tales was part of her Ko-fi page, and we're hoping to make that into a publishing website.
Yay! Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You guys, you're kicking butt. You're kicking so much butt. So what is your genre? Do you tend to read that genre a lot? You said you tend to go dark. Hunted is paranormal. Do you read the same?
So in terms of reading, I usually read fantasy, paranormal, but I also love a good adventure novel. For example, I just finished listening to Distortion's story and the Dark Elf trilogy by Ari
Oh,
Salvatore,
yes. Oh,
which I'm annoyed
yes.
because the website I use to listen to audiobooks, I just got done the second trilogy, and they're missing the third, but they have the fourth. I'm trying to find the third trilogy so I can finish that series, which is
I'll help
annoying.
you out. I'll help you out. I'm a huge Dries Jordan fan. It's actually his books in part. But
Yeah.
Ari Salvatore is one of the people who influenced me growing up as a writer as well. So.
And then I also love the series Outsider by Antonio Hortas, which is a play on
Yes.
like James Bond's, but for like teenage period, which is fun to read.
It's all those James Bond tropes turned upside down on their head in
Yes,
all the
that's why I
right
liked it.
ways.
Because I tried reading James Bond's books and I could not get into them, but I like this series.
There you go.
For that
There
reason.
you go.
And then
So,
I also enjoy reading poetry like Poe and Dickens.
who would you say you sound more like, Poe or Dickens?
I definitely sound more like Poe.
It's the Marylander in you.
Yes. Especially in Lauren Disney Challenge, like, here, write a happy poem, and it's not happy.
I'm sorry, I grew up reading a lot of Edgar Allan Poe, Sylvia Plath, and Anne Sexton. There's no such thing as a happy poem coming out of these fingers unless it's about love. And even then, it might break your heart.
The closest I got is like a bittersweet poem. That's the closest I got to being happy.
Yes, yes, yes. Love it. So, moving on to our third question, since we kind of combined 1 and 2 just a little bit there, has writing always been your life? If not, what other careers, family things, studies, travel have you done?
So, writing wasn't really my life until I got to college. Because I never really considered it my life until my mentor, Brooke Badani, told me that I was really good at writing poetry and novels and that I should pursue it. Until then, I usually used it as a way to wrap my emotions and how I felt dealing with being bullied and grown up in a school where I wasn't allowed to show my talents when it came to my education. But before then, I thought I'd either want to be a actress, a baker, which I still pursue to this day, or a forensic pathologist.
Ooh, I love the forensics thing. If I were better at math, I probably would have been in a science lab somewhere writing lab reports, I'll admit.
Yes. Which is funny because when after college, that was my major until I was kicked out of my major by the head of the department.
What?
His words were, "You have no future in this career because of your disability. I'm switching you to writing. Because that's where you can find a career in." Yes.
The reboot's not working.
But
what?
I know. I had a messed up education system, okay? I don't know how to explain it.
I, as a teacher, am screaming on the inside. My reaction is only to avoid saying what the 4-letter words that I want to say now that I shouldn't be saying.
But the joke's on him because hearing this, I picked the hardest major after that, which was geospatial information systems.
Yes! Go, girl, go!
And if you go on the website for the community college of Baltimore County, I am part of the group that made the successful maps for that college. Because I had a professor that didn't care I couldn't see the computer. It was the fact I wanted to try and complete it. And that's what mattered more to him.
More power to you, girlfriend. More power to you. Oh my God. Education has not been kind to you.
No.
I imagine K-12 was a nightmare. I'm not even going there for a reason because I taught K-12. I know what you went through. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, our education was so weird that if you got an IEP of a store high enough to put you in like gifted or talented program, you were not disabled.
Correct.
So I never
It's
had
still
classes where
unfortunately-
I was intellectually challenged.
And that's the problem with K-12. That's the problem with K-12. You should have an IEP. I'm not get into this. I said I wasn't going to get into this. We're not going to get into this. Because, yeah, that's a whole episode. I would be here for half an hour about how many laws they broke doing that. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, but on the other side, that's how I learned how well reading, because I'd spend all my time reading books and writing. So it
That's true.
panned out in the end.
It did, but it was still unfair. That was not a teacher would not have done that. No. I'm so sorry.
Well, unfortunately, it was not just one; it was an entire school district. So
I'm so sorry.
it's okay.
Boo on them. Big boo on them. So, given that is behind you,
Yes.
this question's a valid question. What is your biggest fear then, and your biggest excitement as an author? Because, oh my God, the audacity you've had to deal with of some other mother's children.
That's okay. Like I said, I found my love for reading. Like my grandmother had sent a book of illustrated classics, so around the age of 5 or 6, I had Great Recitations, Dr. Elton Heights, all the classes you were in high school, I was reading in elementary school.
Same here. So I wondered when you picked up those things, because when you write, you tend to have a more formal writing tone than your sister,
Yes.
which we've talked about a little bit, to
Yes.
try and the whole thing of you want co-authors to sound the same, not opposite.
Well, I mean, I was reading Shakespeare before at the middle school, so that also influenced my writing.
I literally looked at my middle school teacher and said, I can't read Harry Potter because I already read Hamlet.
But I say my greatest fear is being lost when it comes to other authors that have like bigger channels or more famous for their writing. Especially since I already came across the situation where I tried to get out there as a writer on my own, and unfortunately my editor shut down my whole website, and I had to restart over from scratch. And it was difficult because it almost made me not want to write again.
I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just now I learned a lot from that. Like I learned that whenever you have an editor, you need a contract. You can't just take them by their word, even if they're a friend.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
If they do edit your book, have someone double check that before you print it, because they can just say edit and you won't know, you can't see it.
This is something that I talk about with some of my students whom are visually and hearing impaired. This is something that they have trust issues with as well, of I only have your word to go on, and if you blow it, how do I not know it? So yeah. I apologize.
No, it's fine. So what happened is that my very first book of poetry was called Sherwood Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend, well, we're no longer friends. I had her edit, put the book together, and create images for the book. And when we had a falling out, she accused me of stealing her art.
Oh my goodness.
And since I didn't have proof showing I didn't steal it, I bought it from her.
Mm-hmm.
I had to shut down everything that had to do with Shadow Abyss. I mean, not
right.
Shadow Abyss, Asylum.
Can you rebrand it, do you think? Or is it...
Well, that's where Shadow Abyss came from. A lot of those poems were from the original book. And that's why I decided to take the book and break it down to genres and collections, instead of having one giant book.
So it kind of was, as Bob Ross would say, a happy accident?
Yes.
Gotcha. So therefore, your advice for another author, up and coming or a veteran, would therefore be have a contract, have it in writing?
Yes. And don't be afraid to ask more than one person to look at your work.
Oh, definitely not. Goodness gracious.
But
goodness gracious.
The other part of that question, I think my greatest excitement for being a writer is seeing people read my work. I always find joy in seeing people enjoying what I write.
Your work resonates with a lot of people in our age group, I want to say, too, because of what we've lived through. I mean, we were both teenagers, late 90s, early 2000s, so everyone who is in our age group gets what's going on. And I think a lot of the themes to your poems, as you say on the back of The Shadows of Abyss, embark on a journey into a collection of urban dark poetry portraying areas of the paranormal, and this is more important, more so, afflictions of the heart and mind and questions we all face in life.
Yeah.
Some of those things were things that Poe was writing about in the Baltimore area, over a century or so ago. And you're still writing about it now because it's still an issue.
Right.
So tell us about your poetic process then. How do you get into the mindset to write such things? Is it whim? Is it...
I'd say it's a little bit of everything. So I started writing poetry in middle school. And this is when I was being bullied, and I felt like the only way I could show my emotions was through writing. Because of Barrett-Biedl syndrome, I have a side effect called emotional immaturity, where I get stressed out or over emotion, I start crying. And it's hard to tell people I'm upset when you're bawling your eyes out.
I say I'm like Truvy from Steel Magnolias. I will cry with everybody plus myself. So yes, I have that a little bit myself. I don't know. Would you consider it as emotional immaturity, or just as because you read tarot? I ask this. Do you think it's just you're super empathic then?
Well, I didn't realize I was empath until college when I started into tarot and magic. So before then, I just didn't know why I was crying every time I got upset or felt having anxiety attack or depression, stuff like that.
And I think a lot of our viewers and listeners are going to resonate with that, in part is why I asked. So you think tarot helped? I know I'm going off script and I'm way throwing you off here. I hope you're able to follow me.
Yes.
I promised her we could edit anything out. If she's like, Jenna, get back on track. Just bumper me back in, thanks. Do you think getting into tarot helped you, not as a tool just to work it out, but help you mature through that? Question mark. That's a bad way to word it, but
I feel like tarot helped me to ground myself and to connect more with my spirituality. But unfortunately, it's hard to control that to the point where I had instances with friends or events through live action roleplay where I'm still having these emotional breakdowns and I can't explain what's causing it. To the point where I'm not to mention their name because I don't want to do them bad press, but I was asked to stop going to this group because I kept having anxiety attacks and crying.
The group collective just said it. No, I'm so sorry.
The owners, and I don't want to, do them bad press or throw them under the rug, so I'm not to mention their name.
No pressure to do so here. This is a safe space for all involved, in my opinion. So thank you for sharing that, though.
Yeah.
Because I have the anxiety, too, a little bit. And there's a reason why I work from home. I'll put it that way. And, yeah, some people are just unwilling to understand.
Yeah. Well, it's hard trying to bridge the gap between being blind or any disability with live action roleplay, or LARP for short. And unfortunately, I've got to find a group that wants to work with me to the point where I'm comfortable and safe, where I'm not so high anxiety or, hyper aware of everything around me.
Because you want to be able to feel like you can be your authentic self without causing problems for others. And
exactly.
It's one of the reasons why I don't LARP anymore either is it wasn't about, for me, the group wanted to be unnecessarily aggressive, and a lot of us had an issue with this is not your anger management space.
Right.
And that's what ended our group. So it makes it hard on you because you don't want to feel ostracized, but you don't want to be the ostracizer or the ostracizee.
But when the owners threaten to ban you because they don't want to understand what you need, that's when I'm like, all right, this is enough. I have to stand my ground because I don't want to be walked over because you don't want to take the time to understand what's going on.
That's true, and it could be a learning moment for them, and they're being closed-minded about it.
Which is awesome because I'm working with a friend named Tara Smith, and we actually are going to do a documentary showing what it's like for a blind LARPer and how to fix that in the society for LARP.
Yes! Yes! Yes. Oh my goodness. Let me know if I can help with this in any way. I support this. Oh my God.
So right now we're working on a script and we're trying to figure out how on camera to show the difference between what's normal vision for people and what I see.
That editing on it's going to be so key for sure.
Yes, and that's what we're struggling right now to figure out how to do that.
Because we're way off kilter here, but we're going to come back, I promise. May I ask, what is it? Would you mind describing your vision? Like, what do you see from your perspective?
So my disability falls in the area called retina pigmentosa. Yes, I said it right. But the actual disease is called Bardet-Biedl syndrome.
That's how I know it.
It's a genetic disorder passed between both parents, and every time you have a child, there's a 25% increase of the child having it.
Whoa!
So Lauren had 75%, I had 100. So I was going to get it regardless. Because I'm the
and you have a younger sibling, or are you? Did they get?
There's 4 girls in our family, so I'm the youngest. So I was going to get it regardless. And Lauren had a 25% chance of not getting it.
So if you two have children, they're most likely going to have it.
Only if our spouse has it.
Gotcha.
Both the mother and father have to have recessive gene to pass it on.
Oh, it is a recessive trait. That's good.
Yeah.
Because there's some ones out there that are dominant. They're not common. And
no, it's recessive. So both parents have to have recessive gene to pass on to their children.
Gotcha.
And we know where it came from our father's side, but because our mother's maternal mother was adopted, we're not sure where it came from her side of the family.
And that's a whole nother. Adoption is good, but closed versus open is a thing.
Yeah.
And oh man. So, as far as for you though, is it like mostly shadows? Can you see anything?
I was getting to that. So what it causes for me is different for Lauren. Mm-hmm. So my retina is slowly deteriorating, but it's also attacking the back part of your eye that diffracts light.
Oh, wow.
To the point where my eyes are super sensitive to light, where I have to wear glasses and sunglasses that are violet tinted to help with glares and light. And because of that, a lot of times, like, say for example, you're taking a picture and you make the flash go off, or you make use of a flashlight, it blinds me because of how sensitive my eyes are to it.
Wow. That's painful.
Because of the fact when I was working on my bachelor's is when I also got cataracts, which is when there's a film on your eyes, which also makes your eyes sensitive to light, and I should no longer read print because of that.
Yeah, no, we're used to hearing people getting cataracts older than 30, we'll put it that way, because I know a couple people my age who have it already, just genetic predisposition, I guess. But
other thing it causes is I am nearsighted, so I can't see far away. Color blindness, no depth perception. So, for example, when you're stepping down on steps or off a curb, I can't tell where that is. It just looks like a black canvas to me.
And you can't tell a 1-foot body of water from a 12-foot body of water just by looking at it. No.
Other things is that I also have no peripheral vision, so almost tunnel vision. I have a little bit of sideways on my left side, so a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I'll turn so that my body's on the left, face them more.
I noticed you did that. That's why. Okay.
Or if we're watching a movie, I'll sit further to the right, so more of the film's my left side.
Gotcha. That explains why when you and your sister are on camera,
yes,
why you tend. you are always on that side, then that also makes sense.
Yep. And the funny thing is, though, is that sometimes I just feel like it's control because of the fact I'm nearsighted and I can't see people very well.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hear comments like, "Hey, I called out to you, I wave, and you didn't respond back, so we're no longer friends."
Students know if I take these off and they're more than 5 feet away, I have no clue which kid I'm talking to.
Exactly.
There are times where my favorite April Fool's joke was to wear contacts to school. Put it that way, because the kids knew my eyes are bad. So
Yeah.
I imagine for you, there is a prank capability involved there if you wish.
Oh yeah. So other things that affects is I have hypersensibility, so I have excellent hearing, sense of smell, taste. That makes up for my lack of vision.
How does the taste affect spicy and sweet things? Do you like them or no?
Well, my family makes fun of me because I think anything more than black pepper is spicy.
You're a Marylander. Anything outside of black pepper and Old Bay, we don't want it, honey.
Yes. And then
my husband had to change that too.
Yes. It's funny you asked about sweetness because I don't like super sweet things. For example, when we went to London and we were drinking tea, everyone in our group had a whole bowl of sugar. I just had one little thing. I was like, you don't need a whole bowl.
You would love European tea and European food by comparison to Americans, where we shove sugar and salt and everything.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. And
so other things that affects is also parts of my body. For example, I was born with 12 toes and not 10.
Did you keep them or did they? Because some people do. Some people get them removed.
No.
Did you?
No, my mother and father got a donation from Franklin Square Children's Hospital.
Oh, yes. I love them.
So I had surgery done, so did Lauren, because Lauren was born with 12 fingers.
Mm. Oh, so they kind of knew to potentially expect it for. Gotcha.
Well, we were diagnosed at the same time because we're a year apart but born the same day. So when I was 4 and she was 5 when we were diagnosed with her disability.
And that's probably, I would imagine, the age roughly where you get diagnosed, because you probably started getting tested for people and things.
Well, no, it's funny is that we only got tested diagnosed as our grandmother. Because another effect is having night blindness.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going trick-or-treating, and our mother trying to understand why we were being cleany, why we were running the walls and falling down the steps. And
this would be why, Mom.
She thought it was a phase.
I could see where with that age where she might
And our grandmother who wears glasses, she's like, I don't think it's a phase, take on the Walmart eye exam, don't test it. And that's when we were diagnosed.
There you go. And I can see where a parent would say, let's see if they grow out of this at that age, because you're growing so much.
Right.
But unfortunately, at that age, you could also be growing in the wrong direction. Oh, man.
Other thing it causes is also with your mouth. Like, I have speech impediment because of having a small mouth and having overgaps teeth, which I can't fix. Having problems with walking, like tripping or falling, or in my case, having scoliosis at a young age, which is
Yep. And some of that could also be I had a student who had severe scoliosis, and it was because they were severely nearsighted, so they would always walk like this or look like this.
Well,
and I'm like, that actually makes sense because that's an unnatural position for your spine.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, that's not what caused mine. Mm-hmm. So another side effect is that when you hit puberty, your body stops growing.
Oh, wow.
And I unfortunately got mine at the age of 9. So my spine had stopped growing and it curved on itself.
Oh, wow. So it has its benefits, but not.
No. But it's interesting though, because of the fact every case is different, there's still stuttering things today about it that they didn't know when it was first discovered.
Oh, and now in the age of the internet where they can gather that information on a global scale, it's probably benefiting you all more too. I imagine it's not a rare diagnosis, but at the same time, it's probably you guys are better to have the culmination of research helping
Yes.
them.
Well, it still feels rare because there's only one specialist in Maryland for it.
That says something because we have like specialists for everything between Maryland and Southern PA.
Yeah.
Including Hershey.
So we had one specialist when we were younger, and then she retired, and then we didn't have another specialist until we were in our late 20s.
Wow!
Which, it is not fun going to a generic eye doctor with this disability because they don't understand.
No. I was going to say, I was going to imagine your eye appointments are probably very specialized.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And I hope insurance is kind to you. I'll put it that way and leave it that way because I imagine it's the US. That's why I said we're going to leave it there. So
yep.
I can imagine why you write the way you write. Do you see I know your experience in a sighted world comes up in Shadow's Abyss as, if not a theme, then directly stated or a sub-theme. Would you say that your next collection of poetry is very similar in tone and kind of continues on?
So, it's funny that you picked up on that because a lot of people don't catch that in Shadow's Abyss. That a lot of times
I read between the lines. I was an English lit major for part of my life, to kind of quote Dorothy from the Golden Girls, ineffectively.
So a lot of times above my reference to like shadows or the world darkening around you, that is a hint to my vision.
Gotcha. Not just because a lot of people are going to feed into with Shadow's Abyss. They're going to feed into, mental health, especially considering what happened in the last couple of years.
Right.
Mental health could be taken as the shadow, but for you, it's multi-layered.
Yes.
So that's why I was curious. I'm like, how much of this is physical? And there are some lines where it definitely is so. How different is it writing novels, though? How different is it writing novels?
Well, I think it helps that until I got to college, I still had a good amount of my vision.
Mm-hmm.
So when I write novels, I can relate back to that and also the thousands of books I read growing up. But sometimes it's hard because, like, when you're trying to describe a scene, for example, say, oh, you're going walking through the park. A lot of people will a lot of people will describe like the foliage or children playing and doing really a lot of descriptive detail. Where it's hard for me not to fall back on audio detail because that's what I have. That's
right.
Less vision, more audio.
And now that I think about it, knowing that you've written with your sister, that's something that she tends to pick up on the texture of things.
Yes.
You tend to pick up on the sound of things. Yeah. You're right. That's really interesting. I didn't ask you a music question. I now wish I had a music question ready. We'll see what happens. Anyway, you were saying.
Well, I think that also comes into consideration that I was in school choir until I graduated college. Mm-hmm. And I also know how to play the violin and piano.
That's amazing.
And
oh my gosh.
And for that, I'm musical trained. So I learned all by ear, not by reading music.
And for you, all the more so, music will show up, or the sounds of things will therefore be more attention received in your writing. Oh my goodness. Have you thought of, I'm going to ask your sister the same question, heads up. Have you thought of writing a novel without your sister, since you have published by yourself for poetry?
I actually am trying, but sometimes it's more comfortable having someone as backup. But we do have this thing we joked about called a scroll, where it's all our ideas for novels and poetry collections. And right now we're working on Hunted, But there's a book I tried to start writing I was about to work on called Dark Beauty. And it's an idea on the play of being a bee with Phantom of the Opera.
You're now the second author I know who wants to write something related to those two put together.
Yes.
Please and thank you. I'm intrigued to see how two people could take the same idea and get two different books. That's where I'm at.
Sorry. So the idea behind Dark Beauty is this girl had helped her parents stop a disease that was slowly killing all the magic users in the world. But, no magic is without price. So her price is that her whole body is covered in these stars. So trying to live in society where if you don't look beautiful or you're not heroic, you're the monster.
So, have you started writing this yet?
I haven't started, yes. Where I started working on the magic system and how I wanted to show her and the characters.
If you want her to finish writing this, go check out her YouTube and her social media. Linked everywhere below. Oh my gosh, I'm intrigued.
Thank you.
I'm intrigued. So we've kind of talked around this elephant in the room question. I'm going to ask your sister the same thing now that I have you one-on-one. What is it like being a co-author? The good, the bad, the ugly? Say what you want. Don't feel pressured to say what you don't want.
So I actually like co-writing because I feel like it helps in areas I'm weak at or areas in writing I don't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, because of not having good education, there's a lot about writing I still don't understand or get.
I understand that statement. I'm still learning everything, and I have a degree in the thing, so yeah.
So, actually, the very first novel I tried writing by my own was called The Mad Angel. Oh my gosh. This was a 10,000 word book that wasn't even halfway done. It had like 40 characters. It was like 5 books in one.
Were you trying to write Saint Seiya or Sailor Moon as a novel? Because they have casts that huge, is why I ask.
Well, I didn't understand the whole idea of like only having a certain number of characters and not every character story has to be in the novel.
And I think this is something that I struggle with when I write a first book in any series or any new world. I need to tell you about everybody and everything right now.
Yes.
So it's like that excitement to bleed it onto the page does sometimes
and
become a disadvantage.
It was like a battle between two societies. I was like, I had to show both societies, and like that was a bad idea. But
so
I enjoy working with Lauren co-writing because of Hunted. Originally, Hunted was a story I'd written, and it wasn't really a novel. It's more of like a historical outline.
I understand that statement.
Halfway filled in. So Lauren read it, and she helped me flesh it out more, adding more characters, and made it actually into a well-round novel instead.
And it's amazing. It's an amazing novel. Like, I know some of the behind the scenes, and y'all doing good. Like, y'all need to, yeah. It needs to get out there big time. Like, they're working on reworking the innards, and it's so yummy. Everything I hear is all the good. Everything I've seen you two create together in the last 2 years. I mean, you run a poetry corner on occasion on YouTube together. You do open mic nights for poetry on occasion. You ladies are forces to be reckoned with. If you are part of the writing community and authortube on YouTube and you don't know them, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I mean, I want to restart the Poet's Corner, but it's hard when you're fighting anxiety and trying to do video solo without your partner in the background.
I agree. So would you be open to more people helping you and Lauren with it then, maybe?
Yes.
Oh, so if you are into poetry and you want to help Lauren and Nicole with Poet's Corner, open mic nights, you know the sisters to reach out to. Go ahead and check with them for sure. So we've mentioned a little bit about the woo-woo and the tarot. So how has tarot influenced you as a creator, as a human in general?
So I got introduced to tarot when I first started high school. There was a girl on my chess team that was into tarot, and she showed me how to do a simple free question reading, which is where you draw free cards and it tells you your past, present, future. Unfortunately, she left the team, but I appreciate her introducing me to tarot itself, because otherwise I would never known about it. And because of her, my first deck was a elemental deck, and it was a good starting point, but it's not the deck I use now. I now use a fairy deck because at the time I didn't know about how to really use a tarot deck or what deck you need all the cards, because this deck was missing some of the major kind of. But it was a good
You're missing some of the major messages then.
Yeah. And so I slowly started dabbling in it. I learned more about it by just experimenting with different decks, by going to a New Age store, which is no longer open.
Yeah, a lot of them in the Maryland area closed down over the last 10 years and are reopening, I've heard.
Yeah, I think it closed 2003 when it shut down. And I'm kind of glad it did, because I feel like that was kind of karma.
I understand that statement. I got you.
Well, I had tried to join a coven that's in Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I found out that covens weren't for me.
We have a large singular practitioner community here in Washington County. We often run into each other at the local metaphysical shop here on occasion for events. And I don't know if it has anything to do with the Catholic vibes or not, because Maryland is like Catholic Central, so.
Well, no, the problem with this group is that they were large into the idea that in order to celebrate the deities, you had to drink and do drugs.
No.
Yes, and see, that was my problem. I don't do any of that.
Well, I will admit that there's a reason why I don't go to certain events. If I know they're like, some events are advertised that this is the one where we party, and others are advertised more family friendly.
Well, they did advertisements, so I thought I was just going to a celebration. I didn't realize what it was. I was trapped there.
Yeah, feasts unfortunately have to involve alcohol for some people.
Yeah. And then, unfortunately, the other drawback was that a lot of these practitioners were against me learning because of my disability.
Yeah, you need someone who could guide you through with the audio. And a lot of people tend to want to have their book and go buy their book.
Yeah.
So I understand that statement. Maybe we should make one. There you go.
Yep.
The writers in Maryland are going to get together and make one. We'll have our own coven.
So over the years, I've been improving my craft. Mm-hmm. I now have a Braille tarot deck, which I use for my readings, which I self-made.
And her tarot readings are pretty good, just saying.
And I also got certified by doing a course on a website called Central of Excellence.
Would you recommend that for anyone, or would you say it's only if you're more Christo-pagan versus true pagan?
No, I recommend this website for people that want to do tarot or any other fields. There's a lot of courses. So it's based in the UK, but I feel like the courses are well taught for people that are either beginners or experts.
And I would rank you at higher than me because you've studied longer, but where would you rank yourself by comparison?
I feel like I'm middle ground. So I feel like I can do readings, but I still have to look up the cards because it's a lot to memorize.
And for people who don't know, tarot is a very visual thing. So how is it you deal with that? And you've told me your process before, and I'm asking you to clarify for people who are interested.
Sure. So first, when I do a reading, I will do some research on the person asking for a reading, either by looking at their social media looking up things they've written, interactions we had in the past to get a sense of their aura or their presence. And then I will shuffle my deck and draw the cards. And on my deck, the titles are all large print and also in Braille. So I will write down all the card names, and then I will one by one look up each card and what it says it means, and reflect on the meaning on how it reflects the reading and the person and modify it to answer your questions.
So it's intuitive reading based on research of what, because do you go by like the traditional writer weight, or do you have a specific source? Do you check online?
I usually check online. I'll sometimes use a website called Bidget, I think I said it.
Biddy Tarot,
Yes.
yes. That's who where kind of I started. Sako directed me there when I got poking around asking. And then about a month later, you recommended the same thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go this way.
So I'll use that. I'll also use a couple different websites as well as the definition of the card. So I have more than one explanation in case the card isn't being clarified to me.
Kind of like how you were saying earlier, multiple eyes are helping you out.
Yes. Because sometimes you look at a definition, for example, the hangman was his crossroads. But if someone's asking a question about their career, that doesn't make sense. So you have to look more into, okay, what other meanings does the crossroads or the hangman have?
Yeah, it could be a crossroads between you changing a career, you getting a promotion, a demotion. It could be somebody in your social circle at work is retiring even. Right. It can be very vast.
Or, as I revealed in your reading, it might be telling me something unrelated to the question.
Thank you for not saying the question. Thank you for not saying the question.
I won't do that to you.
Thank you. She knows it's a very personal to me thing.
So. Well, I never reveal people's questions or their cards unless they give permission.
Confidentialities with your client. It's important. It's very important. And that's kind of part of your therapeutic process with
Yes.
it. Thank you for that. I respect that. Thank you. So has it influenced you as a creator? Like, are you putting, I saw some videos come out. Are you making more?
I am. So it's kind of hard right now because my cameraman is Lauren and she's working during the week.
Right.
And living at home, sometimes on the weekends, we still don't have time to find a quiet time period for films. But it was actually her idea to go through my deck and explain each card for a new practitioner to show them like what I think the cards mean.
I think that's really, really epic to have because you relied on multiple eyes to help you glean that through research. It's nice to hear what you have gotten over time for those cards as like a community meaning almost.
Yes.
I love that.
So I plan to do the whole deck is just having the time to film.
Exactly. So with time being the concern there, writing advice. Do you have any for any author wanting to publish a book of any kind, regardless of genre or length?
I would say don't rush the process. Don't feel like I have to get this book done in a year because that's, if I take longer than that, I'm procrastinating or it's not a good book.
I understand.
Because sometimes when you rush things, either in writing or, for example, baking or any type of career, you're going to make mistakes. Some you catch and some you don't until it's out there.
That's a good comparison to baking, because in baking, something as tiny as this much too much ruins the dish. Thank you so much for today. I've loved this conversation. I told her expect 30 to 45 minutes, and here we are pushing an hour of content. Wow.
Well, we kind of went off script, so.
That's my fault. I'm sorry. But no, I think the conversation was worth it.
It explains different things.
Yeah. I like to wrap these conversations up, though, with a projection back into the community. Is there anyone in your community you'd like to give a shout out to at this time? Go ahead and do so.
So, besides you, I would say other writers I interact with a lot is my sister, Lauren Adele, Ben Pitt, Samantha Witter, and I think that's it.
I'm going to link them below. Ben is amazing. We know him as Running to Write here around the AuthorTube community. And then Sam Wicker, I believe she's writer Sam Wicker.
Yes, I don't know their channels off the top of my head.
Yeah, and Sam's also kind of an otaku gamer along with us, and we've nerded out with her and her hubby over Ghibli a couple of times. So good peoples.
Well,
good peoples for sure.
Before she got busy, me and Lauren actually used to do a channel with her, where we do a once a week video with her for writing.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, what happened?
I think it was just timing issues. I mean, her being busy and then us having time trying to find a compromised time period to work with her.
Mm-hmm. And I know she does the character randomizers, and you two ladies visit those sometimes too.
Yes. So Lauren will go and join her. I can't due to... It's not her fault, but there's a person in stream whose audio hurts my ears.
I understand.
So I don't go and stream with that.
I understand.
It's not her fault, it's just I don't want to be in pain writing.
I have some students who, God bless and rest both of these girls' souls, because I don't know where they are now, and they're amazing ladies, but they never matured out of 5-year-old squeaky anime girl voice.
Oh.
And they're never going to. So they literally in their 80s will be asked why a 12-year-old girl is picking up the phone. So yeah, from that perspective, I understand both sides of the coin, because they both said, you think I want this voice? No.
Right.
But at the same time, I hear you. So, upcoming events, launches, where do we find you next? Do you have another video coming out soon we should see? She's like, hold on, let me check my calendar, Jenna.
I have my notes. I noticed I don't mean to forget stuff. So first off, I have the AWC.
Yes, you all are participating again.
Yeah. So my panel is on Character's Voice for Poetry. And it will be June 25th from 1 to 1:20 p.m.
You're doing one on your own?
Yes.
Oh, yay! I'm so proud of you.
So, Disenchanted, I said, is, character's POV.
Yep.
I want to do a video showing how I create those poems. So that's not normal poetry. That's like a unique way to write.
Right. 120% agreed for sure. Oh my goodness. And of course, she has another book of poetry in the works, it sounds like. And she and her sister are working on Hunted, getting back out, and plus a book too.
Yes. Well, we're working on it slowly.
Slowly but surely.
Other things I'm doing is Open Mic, which is going to be Saturday, June 17th at 8 p.m.
Father's Day Eve. That'll be fun.
And hopefully trying to do Poets Thursdays. We'll see on that.
So what's the difference between that and an open mic night, if you don't mind my asking?
So open mic is going to be a panel of poets, and people can come and read what they've written or read their favorite poet. Where Poets Thursdays is kind of like Poets Corner, where I'm doing a poet reading and doing my critique about it, or my thoughts about the poem.
Love it. Absolutely, truly love it. So if you want to check out all those things, I've included the links to the thereabouts and the whatnots that you need to follow. And please do check out Nicole and her sister and support them in all they do as much as you have me. And above all, everybody, take care of yourselves. We know you're worth it. Bye.